Welcome to the November 11th, 2019 Advance Report for McGowanGroup clients and NetWorthRadio.com listeners. Happy Veterans Day and thank you. I'm Spencer McGowan, your financial weatherman and President McGowanGroup Asset Management with your fast-paced tour of this week's global financial markets. This is one of the broadcasts that is designed to take you to the next level of expertise in investing in a quick 5 to 7 minute video. Our subscriber base keeps growing. Thank you. Be sure to subscribe because you'll get alerts when there's fast-breaking news that involves portfolio strategy. First, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Yes, big headlines this week, hitting all-time new highs. What was the headline? Well, and notice the Dow, we're going to go to the longer-term chart here in a second, but notice the Dow, 27,774, pretty much at the high this week, corresponding to progress in the Chinese-U.S. trade negotiations. Now, they'll be back and forth on this, but here's the key that came out this week, reflected in some optimism for 2020, as evidenced by the equity index. What we're seeing is a format for a long-term set of negotiations. The negotiations between China and the U.S., especially with the intellectual property theft, that's not something that fits on a single page. It's more like an ongoing negotiation, and the stage is set for multi-year progress moving towards free and fair trade. That could change the optimism for 2020. You've been hearing slowing global growth, looming recession, and the trade wars. Well, this sets the stage actually for a set of positive headlines for next year. And yes, there'll be some setbacks along the way as Trump and Xi battle this thing out. Let's look a little longer term. I wanted to point out here, this is not much distance from the highs that we saw in 2018. In fact, the Dow is within about 3 percentage points of the high set back in August of 2018. Not much progress, but it is a change for optimism for 2020. Could that be fulfilled? Well, here's our earnings projections. Obviously, the analysts are optimistic. This is the profit recession we just went through. What does it explain? It explains why the Dow was range-bound and kept bouncing its head off of 27,000 something. Well, that's what's happened to the corporate profits, and the projections for next year actually quite good, and the trade negotiations set the stage for enough progress that this could actually be fulfilled. That's a better than a 20% increase projected here on the S&P 500 earnings going into 2020 and 2021. All right, one of the bargain categories that we've been featuring, energy infrastructure. If we look at the correlation between oil and energy infrastructure, there's $37 a barrel oil, about 57 this week. And what we've seen, the McGowanGroup Energy Infrastructure Indicator is the white line. Notice that it's essentially half price. And it's a half price index with the companies underlying, according to our research from Harrison Smith. He is Client Support Director. And what we're seeing as we aggregate those, these companies are making 3 times as much profit, or almost 3 times as much profit. They made $13 billion back here, and currently that number closer to $35 billion. That says we've got a half price index with a good yield with the ability to fulfill this price movement that we can see back here in prior trends. Maybe that's a 4 or 5 year opportunity, but it starts with a good enough yield that I'm fulfilling a forward dividend return I can get paid to wait. Now we look at how the average investor is done. I referenced two categories, not without price risk. We've got global high yield paying at 7% at a discount. We've got energy infrastructure, deeply discounted dividend companies. And of course, we love dividend companies, and we're always on the hunt for good research. So if you'd like to update your plan for 2020, be sure to go to networthradio.com, fill out that preliminary client questionnaire. Dalbar does a study that's fascinating. This is the past 20 years. Thanks to McGowan Asset Management, they bring us this. How has the average investor really done for 20 years? 1.9%. That takes all the mutual fund flows for individual and high net worth investors and actually tracks how did they do, when did they buy, when did they sell certain funds. And with the real money flows, it was only 1.9. Inflation was 2.2. This is shocking. It means if you start with a dividend of 6 or 7%, then you're putting yourself at the top of the heap longer term. And if you get some price appreciation on top of that, you could see those are real estate investment trusts, the high side near 10%. Those are reinvestable dividends. You've got gold at 7.7, oil at 7, S&P 500 5.6, bonds 4.5. Well, and your house, about 3.4% on average is the home price appreciation over the 20 years. Now that you're armed with that, it helps you to say, how do I reliably start near the top of this chart instead of getting flailed around near the bottom? Bad decisions are part of the key here, and that's an allocation decision. That's what we do at McGowanGroup Asset Management. Get to networthradio.com, be on the subscription list for both the YouTube McGowan Group and our monthly research, which you can enter by going to networthradio.com. Thank you for joining us for this week's fast-paced tour of the global financial markets. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for tuning in to our YouTube channel. I'm Spencer McGowan, President, McGowan Group, your financial weatherman. We sponsor each week NetWorthRadio.com broadcast. That has the charts and graphs, many of which you saw today. We also sponsor this YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for fast-breaking news, an alert when we post something in a market condition that may have changed. Our goal is to help you as an investor make the right decisions at the right time. And that's part of what this YouTube channel is about, as well as networthradio.com. I am well served with a team of 10 people, including myself. And that team that cares is actually made up of people who are devoted to your net profits and your success, as well as excellence in service. If you want an educational experience to follow this up, get to networthradio.com, the McGowanGroup.com. Right here, we disclose our net client experience all the way back to 2001. What that includes, the bear market cycles of 02, 08, 2018, and the recoveries through the most recent quarter. That is true education of investors and exactly how our clients have done, disclosed right here. Further disclosures, value at risk of loss. Yes, investments are going to fluctuate. That's part of the reason for this broadcast. And that can actually work to your advantage. We'll build that into your plan. So I urge you to go to networthradio.com, fill out the preliminary client questionnaire, a free 1-hour brainstorming session by phone or at the Crescent in Dallas, and we will map out a multi-year plan for you and your family that's appropriate. Just because we talk about a security on this broadcast or any securities doesn't make it a recommendation for your portfolio until you have that written plan. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll be back next week as your financial weatherman.